Good morning, buenos dias, bonjour, welcome, assalamu alaikum, aloha, etc., etc., etc. Glad y'all are here. We don't know what something happened with where the curtain was. That somebody partied here last night and ripped. I don't know, but I'm sure it'll be back up by next week. Hey, bud, come in. Glad to see all of you. Those of you who are logging on, welcome. We're glad to have Wendy. Y'all haven't met. Y'all know little man over here, but y'all haven't met Sir. And this is since we saw them. Whatever you think you accomplished today, Winnie won. She beat you because she's singing at two different churches on two different praise teams. But she had the day off today. John's, I guess, must be working, and so she gets up, goes to the gym, puts on a dress and heels. Thank you very much, and gets two little boys ready and comes to church. So whatever anybody else's excuse is, I'm just showing a picture of her. If somebody tells them why they couldn't make it, I'm like, yeah, you could. Anyway, we're we feel so connected to their babies anyway, especially because of all that happened in Chattanooga when you were expecting, and I keep up with y'all. You know, the social media has its downside, but part of it's so wonderful because you can. I mean, I see what y'all are doing and keeping up with y'all, and it's always amazing. So we're glad you came today. We're glad to see Ava here. The intercessors team's been praying that. Eddie has been in a spiritual warfare phase lately. Everything he doesn't like is the devil now. But anyway, I'm glad all of you are here. Glad the Cold Glazers just got back from Alaska. When you don't see them, they're like in Zimbabwe. They don't. The rest of us go to Panama City and Daytona. Like, where have y'all been? The Ukraine. Okay, well, but they had a good time. Brought us a little cooler weather back in today. So y'all come in. Two more. Hey. Y'all are so funny. Yeah, today it's going to be a good day, and I got a good word for you, and I love you all so much. So glad you come on days like today. Spirit of God, we're conscious today. We're aware of you. We're aware of God. We're aware of our Creator. We're aware of our higher power. We're aware of the Spirit of God that hovers over the face of the deep. We're aware that creation is ongoing and that we're part of the process, and we're still hearing that which we heard in the beginning. And as we hear the word today, we speak more creativity into existence. We continue the process. We thank you for it. And we thank you that on days like today, the special synergy of two or more gathering together in your name creates something that's next level, something that we can't experience individually because we are all connected. So we bless this day. We bless this theater. We bless this street. We bless this neighborhood. We bless this city. We bless everybody who's made the effort to be here today. And we thank you for something happening today that's going to help change history. We believe we receive it. In your name, amen. Please remain standing. Y'all come on in. Let's do the Lord's Prayer, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, presence of divine love and light that lives within us and within all of life, hallowed be thy name. We invoke the powerful creative nature of all that is sacred and holy. Thy kingdom come. We embrace the healing essence that is the kingdom of heaven within us. Thy will be done. We accept our greatest good as we align with our divine nature, on earth as it is in heaven, knowing that the affairs of our lives reflect our evolving consciousness. Give us this day our daily bread. Each day we receive great blessings from within and throughout all the activities of our lives. and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. We accept the divine nature of all things and all people, including ourselves, as we move away from judgment and toward greater awareness of divine presence. And lead us not into temptation. We shall be vigilant in expressing and experiencing the oneness with all life. But deliver us from evil, as we are learning to live without fault-finding and suffering. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. For we accept the consciousness of divine perfection with all its power and glory right here, right now, and forever. Amen, and so it is. Tell the person next to you, there's nobody I'd rather sit next to you than you, and you may be seated. Y'all come on in. Hey, Pierre. Good to see you. Hello, hello, hello. And you may be seated. Glad to see some of you that I haven't seen in a minute. I think, Pierre's been here for several Sundays. If you haven't met him, this is Pierre back here. And you know what? I said I hadn't seen him, but I don't know why. I just totally lied. I did see him the other day at the mall. I was thinking, what? I just feel like I just told a lie. And it's because I did. Hey, but I didn't see him awake. He was, there you are. Hey. Hey, you gonna smile? Boy, y'all shuffled that DNA card just right. He's totally John, and he's totally you. That's so funny how that is. Y'all have completely recreated yourselves. Anyway, thank you again for being here. And last Sunday was great, wasn't it? It was great to have Chandra here, and she always delivers. And I was hoping she would tell you more about her residency. I just need to make it happen. It's the second Friday night of every month, I believe. She's at this club, and it would be cool to do a group event. Let me wonder, what is this? Is this the last Sunday of June? I'm starting to think if we could. Maybe we can remind me, or Avery, remind me to get with her about their dates in July. We might be able to pull that together, because it's. I'm not even sure what part of town it's in, but is it Marietta? Okay, we were in Marietta last night. The perfect note. All right. Well, pencil that. I'm not making an official announcement, but pencil that in. Friday, July 12th. That might be perfect. If you've never seen her in a club atmosphere with a live band, it's a whole other experience. It's really, really good. Yeah, I think we could probably do that. We were in Marietta last night for his cousin's wedding, and a couple of times I've mentioned that, without going into detail, that Ken needed a little supernatural intervention with the family situation, not of his making, but and that has started happening this week. And it was, I've taught a lot about incremental miracles are still miracles, and he definitely had some significant move toward something that we've needed to happen for a while. So, and, I've gotten so aware of how connected we all are. Anytime I hear somebody has some good news or some miraculous intervention, I always get excited for myself, because I think, all right, well, if you saw a cloud the size of a man's hand, I can see it too. Sometimes it doesn't. The downpour of rain doesn't happen all at once, but you just need to know that something's coming, and so that was really good. Remember, my cousin, my cousin Dana that does our. His father transitioned last night, so just keep him in your prayers. And it's been a busy weekend, but a good one. I was telling Rhonda, this seems like a small thing, but we just had so much synchronicity this week. Like, I'm going to repeat what I just told you. There's a Mexican restaurant that we really love in town, but on Friday nights, you can't. It's not. There's no point in going because you just can't get a table. It's like you're just going to wait. Like, how long is the wait? Like 7.5 hours. I mean, and I'm just not feeling it. The last time we went, I said, I'm not coming here on a weeknight, on a Friday night again. Just so you know, if you want to come, you got to get somebody else to come. I'm not waiting here. The song, and so he got home Friday early, and he said, I was just thinking, if we went right now, we could probably get a table at Nuevo Laredo. I said, I can't believe you said that. I swear I was just about to say that. And then yesterday, we knew we were going to leave for his cousin's wedding at a certain time. I said, you want to go somewhere for lunch? He said, why don't we walk to that new place that I got the chicken salad sandwich that I like. I said, I swear I was just about to say that. And then there's a place that he likes to stop and get an ice cream on the way back. And, you have your little rituals where you live. And the line was just too long in there. And I was just about to say, we need an ice cream truck is what we need. It's real hot outside. And I promise you, as soon as I thought it didn't even have the music on. It just like pulled up, right? It was like, I was like, boom, ice cream truck. And I know some people say that's just a coincidence. I'm telling you, I had just thought it. And then the guy came out. He said, I don't want one. I said, yeah, you're eating one because I just manifested this. So I know those are small things, but the more you notice a lot of small things, it sort of accumulates into you realizing that you're manifesting a lot more miraculous stuff sometimes than you even realize. Remember, our outreach this month is once again St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I'm always happy when we can give to them, and definitely believe in that. I can't even imagine. I know just, my kids were always healthy, but just when they had the croup or something, what a deal it was. And for people that are real high impact things like with cancer, I can't even imagine. So it's amazing that, Danny Thomas started this thing back in the 60s, and it's still functioning. It's really extraordinary. And also remember that our meditation weekend number 23 is coming up on August 3rd and 4th on Jekyll Island, specifically Driftwood Beach. This is going to be a good one, and it's going to be Metron's 10th anniversary celebration. So I really would like a big turnout for this one, and I'm bringing artwork to it. Artwork has already been purchased to give to somebody, so you might even get a blessing that you don't even know about. So all that's really good. Let's do, Charles or Michelle, let's do about a 3 to 5 minute meditation before I get into this word, if that is okay. If you can, just sit up straight, put both feet on the ground, get yourself in a posture of letting energy flow through you. You might want to do palms open, or you do a mudra, or raise your hands, whatever. Just want to get into a place where energy can flow through you. We're going to be intentional about our breathing. So we're going to inhale, hold it. Inhale through your nose and hold it. Exhale through your mouth. Inhale. Hold. And exhale. For those of you that do this a lot, you may feel yourself relaxing on the first breath. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Just let the stress flow out of you. Inhale. Exhale. Give me a couple more good breaths. Inhale. Deep. Hold, 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 hold. Out through the mouth. Relax and just be. Inhale. Just let your thoughts settle down. Let your body relax. Let your heart open up. Let your mind be free. Say some words, and I want you to just let them flow through you. Peace, health, strength, love, restoration, energy, power, wisdom, grace, movement, liberty, unity, joy, serenity, calmness, faith, intentionality, consciousness, awareness, resilience, freedom, rest, connection, synchronicity, miracles, favor, timing, openness, light, creativity, blessings. Let's make some affirmations. I am strong. I am strength. I am. I am peaceful. I am peace. I am. I am loving. I am love. I am. I am strong. I am strength. I am. Amen. Beautiful. That was a good one. Good one. Good one. Thank you, Charles. Or Michelle, whichever one of you made that happen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I do have a good word for you today. Are we ready for the podcast? Call him up and tell him what you want. Welcome to the Metron Live podcast, coming to you from the Atlanta Theater in the Kirkwood neighborhood, beautiful, historic Atlanta. Metron people, would you please welcome the podcast people? Hello, podcast people. I love podcasts. I go to sleep listening to one every night. I put my AirPods in. And music doesn't really relax me because I listen to it too intently. If I'm listening to music on podcasts, I'll be trying to go to sleep, and I think, why did they use that chord there? I find music too interesting. I like to put a podcast on that I'm quasi interested in, but not enough that I can't doze off, and that's always enjoyable. I hope you're interested in what I'm saying. I'm assuming since y'all got yourselves into a car and drove over here again today after all these years, you must have some interest in what I'm going to say. And I do believe I have a word for you. Though, go figure, the well keeps pumping, I mean, I know I retell a lot of stories, but the well, it just keeps pumping. I keep thinking, there is nothing else I can say. And I hear Spirit say, well, just tell him this one more thing. Like, all right. So I've renewed my contract. Here's the title for today. It's The Art of Being Happy, Daring to Live the Dream in the Real World. Let me say that a lot of people talk about happiness today, and a lot of it's pop culture, pop psychology, psychobabble, and, sometimes the pursuit of happiness nearly becomes superficial. And yet, the founding fathers, for all of their limitations, thought to include the pursuit of happiness as part of, what the American Constitution is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You're not just supposed to get up and go to work and pay your taxes. You're supposed to be happy once in a while. And, Lord knows I've referred to it a lot, but Pharrell's famous song, Happiness, it came out all those years ago. There's a line, it's a simple line, but it's so true, where he just says, happiness is the truth. And it really is. But I want to say some things today I don't think I've talked about before. Actually, I'm sure I haven't. And specifically, I want to show you this verse of Scripture in two different translations. First of all, it's Psalm 126:1. This is in the Amplified Classic. And before I read it, ancient Israel was constantly being taken over by warring nations. They were constantly being taken into captivity, taken into slavery. They're going to Babylon, or you name it. And so a lot of the Old Testament is taken up with going in and out of captivity, in and out of slavery. And on this particular one, Psalm 126:1 says, when the Lord brought back the captains who returned to Zion, we were like those who dreamed. It seemed so unreal. In other words, we'd been captive for so long, it took a while before we could accept the truth. We just celebrated, it's now become a national holiday. We just celebrated Juneteenth earlier this week. And I'm assuming you all know this, but Juneteenth is, I forgot the man's name, but it was the day that the guy made the last, what's the word? The last part of the Emancipation Proclamation. It's like once it had been finally said to all of, because the Emancipation Proclamation was about freeing slaves from the Confederacy. There were still people in the North who were still enslaved and were not freed until the 13th Amendment. But the point of Juneteenth was, you could be set free, but if you don't know you've been set free, you're technically not free. And because you got to think about in times where there was not social media, there weren't telephones, there wasn't television. There were people who carried on in slavery for some time, even after the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment, because they just hadn't heard that they were free. And then you have a whole other dynamic. Some people say, well, slavery must not have been that bad because some people, even after emancipation, opted to stay on. Well, yeah, that's for people who just did not have any alternative. What was the alternative? If that's where you had always lived, it doesn't justify slavery. It just says, well, what am I going to do? I'm free. That's great, but freedom has some other ramifications with it. What am I going to just go in the next town and say, I'm free, what's up? I mean, I don't know what these white people are capable of. I could end up swinging from a tree here. You know what I mean? So, yeah, slavery's not best case, but it might be my only option. The point is, freedom sometimes is complicated. Freedom's not like just flipping on a switch. You can be freed from a bad situation and not know what to do with yourself because you've been in a certain mode for so long. You don't just say, oh, I'm free, boom, that changes everything. Sometimes you got to get your head caught up with the truth. You've got to download some new information. And what they're saying here is, yeah, we were set free, but it seemed dreamlike. It seemed, you can be unhappy for so long in a situation. When the situation's finally over, you've still got some PTSD from it. You're like, I know I should be just like out on the hillside doing cartwheels, but I don't know. Technically it's over, but it doesn't feel over. And the other translation I want to show you, very similar. This is the New English translation. It says, when the Lord restored the well-being of Zion, we thought we were dreaming. I could have easily titled this today, It's Not Too Good to Be True. Because dreaming is a beautiful thing, but it also isn't necessarily reality. I had some crazy dreams right before I woke up this morning, and they were crazy and very real. And when I woke up, I had to lay there for a minute and say to myself, that didn't happen. I had to tell myself, that is not a reality. I remember Rutherford told me one time, who had a birthday yesterday, he said one of his 10,000 daughters, said to him, she said, I'm so mad at you. And he said, about what? She said, I dreamed that, she said something that he did in a dream. She said, I was furious at you. And he said, well, what did I do in the dream? She said, you know what you did. But that's the way a dream can feel. You can dream that somebody does something to you, and it was just your dream, but it makes you feel differently toward them. You just want to slap them, and they're like, what did I do? Like, you know what you did in my dream last night. So I want to present this in a way that it's okay to put your full weight down on happiness and believe that it's real. If I may, I want to share this little testimony with you. And let me tell you why it's important that I say this out loud. Did any of you grow up in the old church where people kind of discouraged you from talking about things being too good because they were afraid that the devil would hear you? I don't know if that was anybody's experience, but, sometimes the mentality I came from is, let's don't talk about the good stuff too much because, people have this consciousness that old devil's out there. As soon as you say it, he's going to try to prove you wrong. And without even realizing it, people make their idea of a devil so powerful. It's like I can't even give a good report for this great thing that happened to me because I don't want Slewfoot to hear me. And you end up just becoming like a devil worshiper, really, because it's like that idea of this adversary out there is calling all the shots. And I can remember even, it's not their fault, but I remember my maternal grandparents, who I adored, but they were from that old Pentecostal tradition where too much laughter was a sign of frivolity, and the Bible spoke against foolish jesting. And I can remember, I'm sure we were loud, but sometimes if I was with my cousins and we were just being kids and laughing, I can remember my granddaddy coming in and saying, y'all better settle down now, that laugh's going to turn into a cry. And there was just always the feeling that we shouldn't, whatever we're doing, we shouldn't be enjoying it. And so you just get this thing constantly reinforced in you. It's like, be happy, but don't be too happy. And if you did say something was good, you'd say, well, knock on wood. I was reading about the origins of knock on wood, and there's a lot of dispute about where it actually came from. Most historians believe it's from a Celtic tradition, pagans who believed that gods lived inside of trees, so that if you said something, you would knock on wood to seal it, so that that God would reinforce or buttress what you had said. But the idea is, don't say too much good stuff because you might have to eat those words and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Let me just tell you this thing that I just realized just this week. Because, for the last year, well, let me back up a little bit. The last few years of my life have been great, but there's been a lot of stuff that's going on. And I remember when I was still at church, and then now I went to the doctor. It's when I first started having blood pressure issues. And he was talking to me about stress and the power of stress. Stress is actually more dangerous than smoking cigarettes. And, more people die of heart trouble with stress than they do from tobacco. But he said, what are you so stressed about? And so I was telling him a little bit about what was going on, because a lot of things were happening. I was going through a divorce. I was going through, like 1,000 divorces a week, people that had been with me for years saying, don't ever speak to me again. And, the first 150 people that say that to you, you kind of blow it off. When it's like 300, 400, and you're waking up to just tons of hate mail every day and enough death threats that you got to get a bodyguard, and only because you told the truth. And no matter how upbeat you are, it takes a toll on you. And he showed me a list. He said, here's the top 10 things that people go through that kill them. And he said, you've got 7 of them. And he said, technically you have 8 of them. He said, I don't know how you're surviving. And I was kind of glad he said it and kind of not glad he said it, because then I thought, dear Lord, I'm like I was in a dream state. Like, this has been going on so long, I don't even think this is unusual. Have you ever just normalized suffering to the point that, you think, well, this is just the way life is, right? Life's hard. And I remember pulling out of that parking lot, and I was listening to the greatest hits of Mahalia Jackson, who I love. Just listened to her yesterday. My God is Real. But she's got one of her famous songs. She did it in the movie Imitation of Life. Soon I will be done. Trouble of this world. And I'm driving along singing with Mahalia. Trouble of this world. Lord, trouble. And I thought, I got to turn this song off, because I feel like this is going to kill me. Soon I will be. I was driving real slow, like I was in a funeral procession. I'm going home to live with my God. Like, dear Lord, I've got to get a grip. And there's a place for a dirge, a song like that, but you know, a little bit of that goes a long way. And then right on the heels of that, I mean, great things happen. Of course, I met Ken, and, you know, there's been a lot of joy, but also just a lot of intensity. And then, you know, a decade ago, my dad got diagnosed with Alzheimer's and my mom with Parkinson's, like within a couple of weeks of one another. And, you know, as an only child, it's been, you know, the caretaking has been a lot. I mean, I'm not blaming them for it, but it hadn't been like happy elderly years, you know, of spending time with them. It's been intense physical things that there's no break from. And, you know, a decade of it is a lot, you know, and it's hard. And you do it, and you step up, and you rise to the occasion. But with both of them, it's like, sweet Lord, you know, like I've got to change this mentality because this is not the proper response. But even, you know, when Dana's dad passed last night, my instinct is to go, I'm so happy for you. And it's like, that's not what you're supposed to say. Look, see, y'all froze up on me. But it's like a part of me, they think I'm crying for sympathy. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm so happy. You got your life back. You can travel. And I know that's not right. But it's like, that's what it feels like when you've been, soon I will be done. I mean, I know it's track number 4 on Mahalia's Greatest Hits. I know where to find it. And the point is, I'm not, you know, I can handle it. I have handled it. But here's the point I'm saying it. For the last year, I've been really preoccupied, particularly with my heart. I did some other surgeries last year, but particularly I'm not going to go into the detail with that. And, you know, you get to a certain age, and most of y'all are, come on now, y'all are kind of in my demographic. But, you know, when you're in that zone where, you know, you go to the doctor and there's another thing they've diagnosed, and here's another med, and you wake up in the morning, you're like, good God, what is this? What is this? You know, and it starts to feel sometimes like the wheels are coming off. You know, like, is this going to be from here on out? Like every time as I progress, here's another thing you've got to deal with. It's like, I don't want that to be my golden years. I don't want life to be just me driving back and forth to doctors all day. And you know what I mean? It's like that's not fun. And you can concentrate on it so much. You're like, good God, what else is going on? And your body does crazy stuff. And you're like, what's happening with my leg? What's that about? And what's going on? Like you were saying, you with that thing with your finger, and you're like, what the hell? Like, when does that happen? At Carvin, whatever it is, I've seen ads. And you know, it's like, it's a real thing. And you hear people saying, aging is not for sissies. Like, yeah, don't say it again. I'm dealing with it. But I thought of this week because, you know, things are better with my heart. And, you know, I'm believing things are going to get better with my blood pressure. And I'm managing it. But I also thought, you know, in the last, I came out publicly in 2010. So we're like 14 years into, you know, this phase of my life. And during that time, I can only attribute it to the stress of everything. I started having lots of different symptoms that it just occurred to me this week, you know what, I don't have that anymore. And I've been so focused on this one thing, you know, like, just tell me I'm not about to drop it any minute. You know, that one definitely gets your attention. And, you know, when they say, the aneurysm's at a 4.5. As long as you don't get to a 5, you're fine. Like, well, I don't know. I'm not real good at math, but is it 4.5? Like, real close to 5, like, you know. And, but I with this last CAT scan, it looks like it's going the other direction. So I'm like, I'm taking that incremental miracle, Cloud the size of a man's hand, but I'm taking it. Y'all feel me on that? You've been through the health stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Just give me if you'll just give me a little bit of good news, I'll take that and work it. Just don't tell me like, sweet Jesus, it's at a 6, and rush me into surgery. And I went ahead and made peace with, I had lunch with Kevin Broadhead this week, who had open heart surgery a few months ago. I said, I looked at how you came through that with your attitude, and I let it inspire me. I thought, I hope I don't have to have surgery, but if that's what it comes to, then I'm not going to. It's like what you were saying about praying for Alan. Sometimes praying against a thing so hard actually becomes counterproductive because you're sending all this energy to that thing, and the universe is just picking up that you're thinking about that thing all the time. And it's but you know what I mean? It's like sometimes you make the thing too strong because you're thinking about it so much, and you think, because we were taught in the old school, get a hold of the horns of the altar and pray it through. Yeah, get some balance on that. Sometimes you need to just make your request known to God and just shut up about it and just say, because I can't, you get to a point where you're like, I can't pray about this thing one more time. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but I can't. This is absorbing too much of my attention and too much of my energy. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. We believe God will deliver us from this fiery furnace, but even if he doesn't, we're not going to bow to Nebuchadnezzar. And so you go into another level, okay? But I was thinking about this week, and, I hope this isn't TMI for everybody, but I was just this week. Well, it started with a few days ago because, I went through several years of pretty scary chest pains, enough that on 2 different occasions, I've spent the night in the ER. I don't know if you've spent the night in the ER lately, but you might as well buy a house in Honolulu for what it costs you. It's unbelievable what the ER costs. And, both times they said, I think it's stress-related, but I would have chest pains a lot. And Ken asked me this a few weeks ago. He said, have you had chest pain since you had your shoulder surgery? And I thought about it, and I said, I don't think I have. I hadn't thought about it, but I think a lot of what I was interpreting as chest pain was what was radiating from, because your shoulders, and I asked my cardiologist, I said, is it possible that sometimes your body can be interpreting? He said, oh, yeah. He said, you could have pain in your ankle, and it could affect your chest. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to put that in the miracle column, like my little, what do they call abacus? My little thing, that's got the, I'm going to put that over there. I think that's a miracle. It's miracle-ish. It's miracle adjacent. And then I was thinking about this, and I thought, I went through a season where I was just having acid reflux just all the time. Remember us being in Chattanooga and trying to find a CVS that was open, because I said, man, I feel like I'm dying. And, I started drinking alkaline water and doing some things that would help. But I thought, you know what? I haven't had that. Gosh, I can't even remember. Like if I overeat, I'll have a little bit of heartburn, but nothing like that, that serious acid reflux. I don't really have that anymore. It's like it just kind of stopped. I'm going to put that over in the miracle side. That's at least miracle adjacent. And then it got me thinking, I went through a little phase where I was dealing with migraines a lot. I know it sounded like, dear God, Bishop, I'm telling you, I've been through some stuff. Soon I will be done. Anyway, and I got a big bottle of Excedrin migraine in case I need it, but I thought of this. I thought, I haven't had that in a while. It's probably been a couple of years. I'm gonna put that over there. I'm thinking that's a little miracle-ish, and I have to process vertigo a lot, but I haven't had a bad case of it. You remember there were some times in the past where I didn't even show up on a Sunday because I can't stand up. I haven't had that. I'm gonna put that over there. I'm gonna think that's a little. I hadn't thought of it. And then this, and I'm very, Ken deals with sciatica. I'm very aware of back pain. But I went through a phase where, I was having to call Dr. Sheila with emergencies. Remember there was one Christmas Eve, I called her, I said, I hate to bother you on a Christmas Eve, but I can't stand up, and I've got to do a service. Can you please meet me at the thing? Which, of course, she did. But I haven't even been to the chiropractor in, I don't know, 4 years, I think. And I hadn't thought about it, but I thought, I think my back's doing okay. I'm going to put this over there. And what else did I think of? There was a couple of, just right off the bat, I named 6 things that I just hadn't even thought about. But I thought, I haven't had that in a long time. What was the other one? You could probably tell because you had to endure it all with. No, I haven't had that, and it definitely has not put me out of commission. And there was something else I don't remember. But even just, back in the day, I didn't talk about it a lot, but I really had to battle depression a lot. And I thought, I can't even think when I've been depressed. Even when I was going through taking care of my dad, it was like, it was stressful, but I didn't get depressed. It was just like, I hate it, but it's manageable and it'll be over soon. And like all of these things, the point is, a couple of weeks ago I was thinking, man, I do not want this to be the way I'm going to be an elderly person. I don't like this. I got this list of things. You know when you go into the doctor and you have to check off all those things that you have, and you're just like, check, 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 check. And when you see it all together, you're like, good God. And the last time I was in there, for some doctor I was at, I was checking them off, and I thought, no, I don't. Even insomnia. I went through a period where I couldn't sleep. I sleep fine. I'll take a melatonin at night, but I sleep through the night. I don't get up. Even, this is way TMI, but even at my age, a lot of men have to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. I don't. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm good. So my point is, what's that got to do with the dream? I hadn't even noticed that while I was just totally focused on this, all these other things were getting okay. And it's made me think, you know what? If you can get some of this weight off and exercise like you should, you could have a next several decade or two that could be your best years. And I'm so happy. I'm not being in denial. But let me tell you why I want to say this out loud. There's an instinct to say, "Oh, don't eat those words. You'll have to eat those words. Don't get up and make that big statement." You ever heard when somebody said, "Be my luck"? I get up on a Sunday and tell the 7th, and tomorrow they rush me to the emergency room. I don't want to say that. I want to feel confident in saying, my captivity is turning, and it's not a dream. It is a reality, and it's okay. I'm not saying I don't do things. You do things to help your health. You do everything you can in your power. Like just moving more and eating less is always a good thing. And we all, even just when you post with you walking, it's like it's a reminder to me, like, get up out of this chair, and at least even if you don't go to the gym, you can at least walk. Walking is, even yesterday, I had such a turnaround with my mom. I talked to her, and she said, it's too hot to go outside, but this facility, the way it's built, there's lots of space to walk, and I take a walk 2 or 3 times a day. I said, Mom, that's so good for you to just walk around there and keep moving. And she said, yeah, the guy across the hall, we kept running into each other. We got to stop meeting this way. I'm like, whatever. I'm fine. If that makes you want to get up and walk, I'm good with it. I don't want you to get married, but I ain't ready for a new daddy. But if it makes you get up and walk, you go, girl. If it makes you walk, Do what you got to do. My point is, because this, aside from some of you who are kids' age, but most of us are kind of like, let's just say many of us in here remember the 70s. Okay? And I want to say to all of us, stop just throwing in the towel and going, well, I guess this is the way it's going to be. Get yourself a little miracle monitor, like because I hadn't even thought about it. But the more, it's an amazing thing, when David said, "Bless the Lord, my soul, and forget not all his benefits." You have to remind yourself of all that's happened, or you'll just get so focused on the present thing that you haven't noticed that all this other stuff has somehow worked out. And usually stuff like that doesn't just go away. And I thought, man, I've got a list of, I don't know how many I listed today, but just right off the bat, I listed 6 or 7 things that I wasn't even paying attention to that, you know what, that is better. And with me, again, a little bit of good news goes a long way. Because if you tell me this is the way it's going to be from here on out, you're never going to feel better, I'm not sure I want to live that out. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if this is where I'm headed to, this has not a lot to look forward to. But if my body is still able to get better and heal itself and respond to things, well, now you're giving me some good news. I might get a second wind and start thinking, well, I could start feeling better. I could start being better. And so yours may not be your health, but whatever, even what I mentioned with Ken's family, it was incrementally better. So I'm like, all right, good. As long as I can see, Jesus said that the kingdom is like a grain of wheat, first the blade, then the ear, then the full corn in the ear. If I can just see a blade coming up, I'm like, all right, well, that's got miracle potential. So that's what I want to establish. Now, let me show you this real quick. Chopra says this. Every time you are tempted to react in the same old way, ask if you want to be a prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future. If you're in a cycle where you're always talking about, here's the latest negative thing that's happened. I've taught on this for years. But when you start making a list of things, you have to be careful because the list itself becomes powerful. When you have a list of, here's all the bad things that have happened this year, and you keep saying it and keep reinforcing it, the list itself becomes attractive. That's why there's some people, you know who that person is in your life, that when their name comes up on your caller ID, you're like, oh, crap, this isn't going to be good. And it's usually that person who, let me tell you the latest thing that's happened. And you want to be there for them, and you want to be empathetic, but you're dealing with your own stuff. You know what I mean? It's like you just want to say, life's hard, baby. Get a grip. But then you've got those other people, and this is why I make a deal over things like ice cream trucks and little things, because it's lots of little miracles added up. It has, what's the word? Can't think of the word. That was another thing. Speaking now, I can't think of it. Is I've noticed my memory's gotten better. Like I've just noticed recently, what was that thing I was going to do? Oh yeah, I remember. Because when you get to be about my age, you can start getting a little concerned. Like, okay, I keep forgetting stuff, and you don't want to overreact. But every time I remember something I thought I forgot, I'm like, you go, boy. You're not getting older. You're getting better. I'm going from strength to strength. And you have to, it's like I wrote on this week before last. I said life isn't just cyclical; it's spherical. It's like it's like a spiral. And I saw this. This was a good thing for me to see. We think about the planets orbiting the sun. Usually you think about them being like in a flat, like they're on a plane, but they're not. They actually spiral around the sun. Like some of them spiral closer, some, Jupiter's out further. But it's not just this, plane. It's a lot of movement and activity. And I liked seeing that because I thought everything is moving in spheres around us. And the way we react to a thing determines if it's going to spiral upward or spiral downward. I'm going to say this, and I was going to say I hate that I know this, but I don't hate that I know this. I'm glad I know this. I can tell you this. I know people go through real stuff, and I'm not trying to minimize anybody's real suffering. But I'm going to tell you, for the most part, the majority of our suffering is self-induced. Your problems are not your problems. They're how you think about your problems. And if everything that happens you think, dear God, what now? What fresh hell is this? You're already attracting the next negative thing. Now, let me show you this. Number 4. Dr. Dispenza says, can you accept the notion that once you change your internal state, you don't need the external world to provide you with a reason to feel joy, gratitude, appreciation, or any other elevated emotion? Let me tell you something. Feeling good is not superficial. It's necessary. If you say, well, I'd feel better if things got better, it's never going to work that way. It's the tail wagging the dog. You have to go ahead and feel better, and then the circumstances will conform to the feeling. I'm telling you, I can find spiritual truth in anything. One day, I was listening to James Brown's hardest working man in show business, and his most famous song is "I Feel Good, I Knew That I Would," meaning my feeling good was not in response to circumstances. I already preordained that I would feel good, so that when the good thing happened, it was just a confirmation to what I like. You can say, I already knew I would feel good. No. So good, so good. But there's just a truth to that. It's like I'm forecasting my good feeling. It's saying I don't have to wait to see how things are going to turn out tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and say tomorrow's going to be a great day. And I've just decided to feel good. You say, well, you can't just tell your body stuff like that. Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. You can the cells in your body are eavesdropping on your conversation constantly. So you can constantly say, you know what? Like just what I told you publicly today about me getting little miracles, it's going to make me healthy. I'm going to wake up tomorrow feeling a little bit better than I felt this morning. Now let me show you this. By Chuck Palahniuk. What we call chaos is just patterns we haven't recognized. What we call random is just patterns we can't decipher. Let me tell you why this is important. That's right. Don't shout me down just because I'm preaching good. You want that microphone? You can't have my microphone. You can't have my... No, you can't. No, you can't. What a sweet spirit. You got a sweet spirit. I'm telling you, if you've gotten yourself into a victim mentality, you got to stop it. I mean, you have to stop it. It's going to do you in. If you're, what's that? How's it going? If you're, everything that happens is like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you're like, dear God, here's one more thing. What's one more thing that could go wrong? Some of y'all remember Tricia, the woman that came down that she broke her elbow and came to the last meditation weekend. Ken took that amazing picture of the sun beaming against it. And she's amazing. I'm sure she's watching today, or will watch this later. But I remember when she messaged me when she had broken her elbow. She said, there have been several things that have happened this week, not the least of which is I just fell and broke my elbow. I don't know if you've ever had one of those weeks, and you're like, good God, what else could go wrong? I'm telling you, you've got to reboot. You've got to unplug it, because like I've learned this, if I let myself get in that zone, and if you're tired physically, it's real easy for it to happen, and you start feeling vulnerable. I think I've got to break this pattern, because especially if I'm driving, I think I'm just a few distractions away from having a wreck. Sometimes I've pulled my car over and said, okay, I've got to unplug and reboot and start this day over, because I don't like the way this thing is going. If the third or fourth negative thing in a row has happened, like, okay, I've got to arrest this. Because once you get under it, you're in trouble. Because then you're like, now you're vulnerable. And there's got to be some scrappy, street smart part of you. Like I'll say it this way. I've never been punched in the face. I've never hit anybody in the face. I can't imagine what that would be like. But a lot of people, I mean, I can talk to Jared. I was having lunch with him the other day, and I'm looking at scars on his face because he's been in quite a few bar fights. I can't imagine. If somebody threatens me, I'm like, I'm sure we could talk about this. I don't want you to hit me. But that's not the way a lot of people think. There are people out there that just as soon hit you as look at you, because they've been through it before, they don't care, and they're looking for a fight. But you have to get on top of that. But my point is, that's kind of the way you have to be psychologically. Like when you take a hit, you've got to tap into this inner street fighter that's just like, come on, bring it. Because if you start this motion, your life's just going to keep punching you. People say, that's not fair. Baby, life's not fair. If you're going around saying, life's not fair, you just need to go home. Because, of course, it's not fair. Who told you it was fair? Oh, you're just going to take over now. Oh, no, that's the other one. But you understand what I'm saying? If you flinch, life's not going to be merciful. Let me tell you something. Life's not going to say, oh, baby, I think you've had enough. Life's never going to say, I think I've been too hard on you. Life's just going to keep. We do have a room. We do have a room. It's all good. And now you've taken over. You know how to do this. You've held your fair share of babies. He's looking like, do I know you? Say what? Eddie said revival is going to break out. We got people running the aisles, Jesus. Feel free to tell anybody, Bishop preached so good today that people got up out of their seats and started running the aisles. I never saw anything like it in my life. People running so much, one of the nurses had to take them out. It was Holy Ghost, yeah.
The second part of that, is random and decipher. Can you elaborate on that?
Meaning, all right, since you brought it up, what happened to my... Oh, okay. You know what? I'm going to add to my little thing. My powers of focus are a lot better than they used to be. Because I used to get easily distracted by a lot of stuff around me. And I'm kind of not that way now. Now it's just like, whatevs. And when Michelle's out on her cigarette break and I need my next, I'm like, she'll be back in a minute. He was asking me that second part. All right, what I think that means is instead of, I don't necessarily believe everything happens for a reason. I don't necessarily think that. I think what we call random is just patterns we can't decipher. What I believe that means is stay in contact with the big picture. It's like saying life is not happening to me. It's happening for me. And if things are happening that were unexpected and seem random, I'm going to see that as serving the big picture. This is going to, it's kind of another way of saying all things work together for good to those that love God and called according to His purpose. We're all called according to His purpose. And if you see that they're working together for good, they are. Now, let me show you. These last two things, these are two scientific studies that have really impacted me, okay? I know Dr. Dispenza's talked a lot about people being addicted to the hormones of stress to the point, and this goes back to that scripture, when the Lord turned the captivity, we were as them that dreamed. You can get so accustomed to bad things continually happening that when bad things aren't happening, you don't feel like yourself. It's kind of like, I did a whole teaching on this one time out of the book of Nehemiah. You know that Nehemiah 8:10 says, the joy of the Lord is your strength. You know why he said it? It's because this is another time that Israel had been taken into captivity, and they were released, and Nehemiah was building the wall around Jerusalem, and he was trying to have a celebration, and he said, this is a great day to celebrate because we've been set free, and everybody started crying. And he said, you're supposed to be rejoicing, and they didn't know how to rejoice. And that's when he says, all right, go home, exchange gifts. In the King James says, eat the fat and drink the sweet. In other words, go have a party and train yourself how to have fun again. You get out of the routine of just being happy and just being chill and just letting things go. And, you lose your sense of youthfulness. You know, when you were a kid, before you knew what life was really like, you just didn't take stuff so seriously. And, they say especially in males, the brain doesn't fully mature until you're about 26. So that's why young men do such stupid stuff, because they biologically just don't see the consequences. But there's a part of it where you should stay in touch with that part of you where your brain's not so freaking developed. Remember when you were a kid, unless you just had a really horrible childhood, but typically as a kid you never grasp the seriousness of a situation, and you're like, it'll be all right, everything will work out. Haven't you ever talked to one of your teenagers like, did you not think? And of course they didn't. Christina's been through a thing with twice. I can't imagine Sophia would hear this. I hope she's not embarrassed. But there's twice she stayed out considerably after curfew. And I have to say, there was a part of me that was so happy to see Christina stressing over it and saying, if this happens one more time, you're going to live with your daddy. I said, I know I shouldn't be happy. This makes me so happy to hear you doing this, because what goes around comes around. And she said, I never stayed out that late. I'm like, oh, but you did. And but she said the weird thing is Sophia, I don't think she's been diagnosed ADD, but she's just kind of, wherever she is, that's where she is. And she's not being rebellious. She just, like one time she was with her friend and their grandparents, and they were playing Scrabble, and she didn't even notice it was 2 o'clock in the morning. She notices it now because Christina's freaked out on her. But the point is like she just was where she was. And there's a part of you that should still be able to just be where you are. Do you understand? Like, if you're going to spend money to go on a vacation, go on vacation. That when this last meditation weekend we went, it was right in the middle of all the drama I was going through with getting my mom settled into assisted living, and it was a lot. And Ken and I went down a day early, went to Jekyll, and I walked out on the beach, and I was just so happy to just be out of town and not be in the intensity of it. And he had sat down on this Adirondack chair, and I went and sat by him, and I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. I'm sitting on the beach. And my phone rang, and I recognized that number. And it was her place. She said, the med tech said, I just need to tell you, we ordered a new med for your mom, and it didn't come here. It went to Walgreens, and I wanted to know if you could go pick it up. I said, no, I can't. I'm paying you a lot of money for assisted living, and I need some assistance. I'm out of town. I'm not going to Walgreens. Y'all figure it out. And she said, I'll take care of it. And I'm like, that's what you're supposed to say. And I went back to relaxing. And when I called my mom that night, she didn't know anything about it. Later, I mentioned to her, they didn't even tell me that. I said, I'm so happy. Because that could have been, in the world we were in, a little bit of a crisis. But I was like, you know, where you worked real hard to get out of town, and somebody tries to mess up your plans, and you're like, oh, hell no. I'm gonna get this vacation. I'm going to get every minute of it. And I don't want to be preoccupied. I'm going to tap into that part of my inner child that is where he or she is. Because if you're standing on a beach worrying about your finances, you kind of wasted your money going to the beach. The point of going and looking at that ocean that you've looked at a million times and just standing in it is for the hypnotic effect that it has on you. This is when vacation kicks in for me, when I suddenly am aware I haven't thought of anything in 45 minutes. I've been laying by this pool, and there have been good thoughts. There's just been no thoughts. It's like, One of the best ads I ever saw for a cruise was one of those Disney, I know this doesn't apply to y'all scuba divers and spelunkers, but it was one of these Disney cruises, and it just showed a montage of this guy sleeping. He was sleeping in his room. He was sleeping by the pool. He was sleeping on his back. He was sleeping on his stomach. Showed him all these different places, and I thought, that would sell me on that cruise. Like, I feel relaxed just watching that little montage. Now, this is the part I haven't talked about before because I just came across this recently. I knew that I'm very aware that people can get addicted to drama. You remember that, was it Charlie Brown that had the friend? No, Pigpen was the one that had the dirt all around him. What's the comic strip that there was a guy that had a rain cloud over him all the time? Anyway, I just remember there was a, what? Maybe. I think that was Lil Abner. Yes. Yeah, it was a Lil Abner character. And he had his own rain cloud. Wherever he went, it was raining just on him. For some reason, I was thinking about this yesterday. I don't know how many of y'all remember Miss Marion from Church of the Now, but one of the funniest things she ever told me was back in the 70s, whoever she was married to at the time, they moved to like a real upscale white neighborhood. And some of the neighbors weren't all that thrilled about them moving in. And so she said it's the first time they'd ever gone to the grocery store in that neighborhood, and it was pouring down rain. And she said, we got out of the car, we're going in our umbrella. And she said, we go into this Kroger, and all these white people are staring at us. And I was staring back at them like, we got money, we can live in this neighborhood too. Y'all don't own this neighborhood. She said, we're walking up and down the aisles of people, just everybody staring like, what's wrong with you white people? You've never seen anybody black before? And she said, I was getting so furious, like, we're going to live in this neighborhood. I don't care. And she said, we walked up to the produce section, and I looked in the mirror, and we still had the umbrella up. And she said, maybe the reason They're staring at us as we're walking. We've been walking through Kroger for 15 minutes with an umbrella. Maybe, I mean, maybe they are all racist, but maybe this particular incident is not racially related. It's like they had their own little private. And she said, we were walking slow, like we're still in the rain. Like, no, you're out of the rain. When the Lord turned the captivity of Zion, we was then the dream. Put your umbrella down. But this is interesting. This Morgan Smith says this. Stress, even with the myriad of negatives it brings, can be addicting. It's a trick our brains play on us. In addition to cortisol, stress releases dopamine. I had never read this before. Dopamine is the feel-good drug in your brain. Stress releases dopamine, a feel-good chemical that encourages repeat behaviors by activating the reward center in our brains, according to Heidi Hanna, an integrative neuroscientist. Stress can cause a natural high by activating the arousal and attention centers in our nervous system, which, if prolonged, can be as addictive as drugs, Hannah warns. In other words, your chronically stressed out brain could be dependent on those small euphoric hits of dopamine, says Debbie Sorensen, a Harvard-trained psychologist who specializes in burnout. This really affected me because I knew that people can get addicted to drama. I mean, I've done enough teaching in my life and counseling to know that. I did not know there was medical proof of stress releasing dopamine. Like, that is huge. Some people get high on crisis. Do you see why people like to go to those churches they can blame everything on the devil? Because they got a monkey on their back. They're an addict. They're addicted to their own stress, and there's no way they could take responsibility for their own life. So, of course, they need a devil. I'm missing myself sometimes. You know, when you don't want to take responsibility for yourself, you know, it was like, what a wonderful luxury that would be just to have a devil to blame everything on. But sometimes there ain't a devil anywhere around you. It's all you, baby. You're the devil. Bind him. Right. And it depends on how you feel about the person. Like, I've noticed back in those days, if you liked the person, you would say they must be doing something right, or the devil wouldn't be fighting them like he is. And if you didn't like you, they must have sin in their life, or the devil be doing that stuff. And it has nothing to do with the devil. It's your thoughts. Your thoughts are the demons. When I say give no place to the devil, I'm saying don't give in to that devil that you've created. I mean, when Jesus was in the wilderness, he spoke to his own mind. And in the Aramaic, he called his own brain Satana.
Jim, we've all known people that just really, they thrive. We call them drama queens. Some of them are own children. Just seemed like they wasn't happy unless they had all kind of drama going on.
And they are addicted to it. That's why this changed the trajectory of this with me. Because I thought, oh, this is biological. This isn't just somebody feeling sorry for themselves. Dopamine, anytime you've got a habit or something that gives you, like there's a certain feeling of well-being I can get from eating sugar. I mean, sugar's like if I'm upset about something, the sugar's a go-to. I mean, more than alcohol. Like, if I'm really upset, I don't necessarily want to drink. I want some mint chocolate chip ice cream. And within reason, that's okay. It's manageable, but it could also destroy my life. When a doctor says, I haven't heard this, but when a doctor says you're pre-diabetic, you're diabetic, you're like, oh, maybe I have a situation. But this first of all, was a wake-up call for me. It also has helped me with compassion. Because when I see someone who's in that cycle, I think they have an addiction problem. And I'm familiar enough with the language of recovery that I think sometimes if you know you have a predisposition to be addicted to negative things, to be addicted to drama, you might need to, maybe we need to form a, what would you call it? Not Alcoholics Anonymous, but, a thing. DQA. Hi, I'm Jim. I'm a drama queen. Hi, Jim. It might not be a bad idea. I think you might have nailed. I think you might have spoken prophetically. And again, I'm very aware that people, believe me, I hear from people in crisis every day of my life. I'm very aware that people are going through real stuff. I'm also saying you've got to monitor the way you feed off of it, because what happens is you talk about the bad stuff that's happened, so you create more bad stuff happening, so that when more bad stuff happens, you're like, see, I told you. Yeah, just my luck that a thing like that would happen. You've got to break that cycle, and only you can do it. And this brings me to the last thing, and this was equally revelatory to me. I'm not going to try to pronounce this guy's name. It says, stress hormones are meant to give us the strength and endurance to respond to extraordinary conditions. They're not necessarily bad. Look at this. People who actively do something to deal with a disaster, rescuing loved ones or strangers, transporting people to a hospital, being a part of a medical team, pitching tents or cooking meals, utilize their stress hormones for their proper purpose and therefore are at much lower risk of being traumatized. This is huge, because what it's saying is people who have been in intense situations like 9/11, like Katrina, the ones who became the helpers were the ones who were not traumatized. It's the very definition of being proactive. So that, you've heard this before. If you're ever in a bad situation, the best way to get out of it is go help somebody else. Change the energy. And there's actually biological confirmation to that. Because if a thing is happening, it's the same thing. I talked to LaDonna yesterday because her mother-in-law passed a couple weeks ago. And I said, how's Tony doing? Because he was super, super close to his mom. She was 94. And she said, he's actually doing okay. He's decided he's going to keep her condo, but he's decided he's going to sell it. And I said, well, it's been my experience, the caretakers are the ones who deal with the loss the easiest. Like the ones who were actually there taking care of the elderly person. That's why you took care of your mom, and you could talk about it. Like when you talked about it, you weren't prostrate with grief. You were like, yeah, it was a lot, and she lived with me, and I took care of her, and, it was that. Why were you not? I'm sure you cried, but you weren't like jumping off a bridge somewhere, because you're like, no, I took care of her, and it was a lot of hard work. But you know what you did? You took all those stress hormones, and you became proactive with them instead of, we're supposed to be helpers and not absorbers. This is huge. Jesus said, the Spirit of the Lord God is upon me because he's anointed me to do something. He didn't say the Spirit of the Lord has anointed me to sit in a praise and worship setting and worship the Lord all day. He said, anointed me to preach good tidings to the meek and to bind up the brokenhearted, to be a part of the solution. This is huge. It's cute that people want the Ten Commandments put in classrooms. Like, okay, whatever. I'm like, y'all aren't even Christian nationalists. You're Moses nationalists. I might even get behind it if you were promoting the 2 great commandments. Love God with all of your heart and love. Really? We're going back under the that's but you know what would really help you? Instead of making kids read the 10 commandments, how about a lunch program to feed them because they haven't had breakfast? And that's true big picture. It's true little picture. Let me tell you something. If you're just alone a lot and introspective and thinking about your problems, you've got to break that cycle. You've got to get involved in being a part of a solution. If not for somebody else, at least for yourself. Sometimes for me, if I don't have the whole thing figured out, if I've just at least done something toward it, I think, well, I did this, and this today. I mean, I've had to do this several times this year with getting my mom in this place. When I would feel overwhelmed, I think, well, look at all the stuff we've already done. We did this, and we did this, and I already sold her car, and we already got power of attorney, and we already saw it. We got it's not living will, it's whatever the other thing is called, advance directive. We did that. I found a place. We've somehow paid for it for 4 months. And sometimes you got to remember that you killed a lion and a bear so you can face the next giant. And there's been other times I think, I don't know what are we going to do about she asked me, she wanted to go to Walmart for something the day before yesterday. So I took her and she said, how much does this cost every month? And I told her, and she said, aren't we going to run out of money at a certain point? I said, well, we'll probably have to sell the house. First time I've said it out loud. We'll probably have to sell the house eventually. And she says, well, I could move back in there and live alone. I said, Mom, that's really not an option at this point. And she didn't argue. And I thought, all right, well, I have said these words out loud, and it didn't end in drama. A month ago it would have. And so I'm like, I'm putting that in that little column over there. That was a little bit, I got to get it. I got to extend this one because in the middle of all the stuff, there's lots of little miracles happening. This is why gratitude is so important. If you can't think of anything else, think about something to be grateful for. That'll work every time. But you don't know how bad. No, you're missing the point. You can be grateful in the midst of all hell breaking loose. You can be in the middle of the worst storm of your life and say, but I'm at least grateful that it happened this way, that this happened. And so these are the 2 main things I want you to remember. Break the addiction to dopamine hits you get from crisis. I'm not saying that in the world you will have tribulation. Be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. Meaning, yeah, stuff's going to happen. That's just life. But you cannot be victimized by it. You've got to enjoy your life. You've got to intentionally be happy. That's why I called it the art of happiness. You have to develop the ability to not let yourself be happy by negative stuff. Doesn't that just seem really sick and twisted? When I read that people get dopamine hits from Christ, I thought, dear God, please tell me that's not me. Jesus, I don't want, I may like attention, but I don't want to get it that way. I'd rather get a new shirt or something, get attention but to have to get it by, let me tell you the latest thing, like, oh my God. That's why I never share sad stuff online. Because when people start, if the times I've done it, like if I got a nasty letter or something, by the second time somebody wrote, hang in there, Bishop, it's going to be, I'm like, oh no, I'm not that guy. Oh no, delete. It's all good. I'm not the guy you feel sorry for. I'm the guy you wish you was. Come on now. And you have to feel that way about yourself too. I don't have to envy somebody else's life. I love my life. That's why I bless it constantly. Yesterday when we were walking over to get lunch and that ice cream truck, I use that hashtag, I love my neighborhood. Because that's how I want to see my life. And that's how you should see yours. There's an art to being happy. Did you get anything out of this today? Let's all stand, please. Winnie, you can come back out. Come on, little dudes. You know what? It's a lot to sit and try to be quiet at that age. Y'all did real good. Come on, come here. Come here. You got stars on you. How'd you wave to everybody? Wave. Y'all did real good. Y'all got a little chatty. But I know your family. You come from a long line of people that have something to say. If you had brought some kids in and didn't have to say anything, I'd be like, that ain't your baby. You come from a long line of people that speak up about stuff. Anyway, it's all good. We got it all said today. Anybody have any feedback on what we talked about today? Beth?
This hit me so directly. I went through about 10 years between like 2008 and 2017 that were 10 years of hell, basically. And I was always at the point where I felt like, okay, let's let the other shoe drop. Right. And before I knew it, it did. But at the same time, with as little as I had, I started doing a thing that I called Love Now Ministries. That was not a 501c3 because
it changed the energy.
It changed the energy.
It got you out of yourself.
Yeah, I started helping people. I started helping people, and I was given donations from Bell's Grocery and other things, and I started feeding people that the other people.
I remember that, and the thing is, you don't even have to officially organize something. You could just even something as simple as giving somebody a good, like sometimes what you would need somebody to say to yourself, to say to you, say it to somebody else. I hear what you're saying.
And one day alone, we fed 30 families.
That's awesome.
And I was like, this, during that whole time, I had a roof over my head. I didn't know for sure where I was going to be. I was fed. I had a vehicle. I was able to keep my dogs with me, which were a comfort to me. And when I finally came out of that, after funerals and everything else, it was like, oh my God, it's like this was saying, you're like one that dreams.
Yeah, absolutely.
And honest to God, even going to the last, down at the beach, the
meditation weekend.
Oh my God, I thought, I have got to go to this because with my legs and stuff, I wasn't able to walk and go things. I said,
but you did it.
I'm going.
It didn't even tell us it was your birthday. That's awesome. Awesome. Please remain standing for the outro, if you will, please. And then I'll
Contributing to Metron is quick and easy. You can give anytime using any smartphone. Text the amount you'd like to donate to 404-620-5044. You will then receive a notification that you successfully completed your donation. You may also visit bishopthenow.com and click the support tab to give there as well. When you contribute to Metron, you're also donating to the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment into Metron.
If you have a check, make the JESM. If you have cash, just pay it forward. And I speak clarity to your mind. I break the power of addiction to anything that is negative. If you've become addicted to crisis, that you break out of that and that you begin to create a new reality. That you keep your mind stayed on Him. He keeps you in perfect peace. That the joy of the Lord is your strength. And you wake up tomorrow saying, this is the day the Lord has enabled me to make, I will rejoice and be glad in it. God bless you. Go in peace. Mwah. I'll see you next Sunday.